All right, here we are at Hybrid Racing. There's Dougie Fresh all the way over there doing some custom work for this 600RR. Here is, or was, my 2004 Yamaha R1 that I just sold literally 2 weeks ago, and the guy hasn't had a chance to enjoy it yet. The minute I dropped it off, the bike shut off just on its own. Then I started it back up, and I thought it was just an anomaly. But as you know, when anything happens, any type of anomaly, is usually an indication of something else. So, within the following days, the bike had trouble starting. Finally got it started. So I thought it was a battery issue. I bought the guy a new battery. He went, he checked everything else. That's Mr. Johnny Nitro, by the way. And with some more testing that we did, the battery wasn't charging. And I just drained the oil, and sure enough, I found a piece of magnet stuck to the drain plug. I already chucked it away, so now I'm gonna go in and remove the stator cover and see what kind of damage is already inside here. I'm assuming that the magnets came off, like happens to everyone else on the 2004 R1, where it just ends up in the oil pan, probably the sump pump. So got to do a full clean, put it back together, fresh oil, and then we're gonna go from there. I want the guy to enjoy this bike, so I'm covering all the costs. I'm working with Johnny Nitro. I'm gonna put it, fix it, put it back together, and then kind of go from there. All right, so here we go. Remove the screws. Oh, wait a minute, it might be a little tight. Oh, fuck.
Still holding in there.
Off.
Oh, I heard something.
You got that? Okay. Oh, shit. Well, let's start with this. All right. You know what? Maybe it's not. Oh yeah. These are part of the magnets in there.
Pull this off.
Okay. No, I can't get this off. So let's take a look at the famous or infamous failure that fucking Yamaha knows about, apparently, after I started reading about it. I never knew about it up until literally this happened. And yeah, some other people had this similar joy, have to deal with this bullshit. So tomorrow we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna drop the pan, we're gonna check the sump, we're gonna go and clean everything thoroughly. I'm sure we're gonna find some more stuff in there. A couple of saving graces is I had a magnet on the drain plug, and I have a magnet actually on the filter. I'm hoping it would have caught any other debris that could have potentially got in there. And then we're gonna see how things go. But I'm not gonna know anything until we drop the pan tomorrow, to see if that's where the other, I'm sure we're gonna find a little more debris in there as well. So fingers crossed that that's all it is. It's not gonna be any worse than what we're seeing right now, which is already catastrophic. And that we get the parts in for our RM stator, put it all back together, and everything's gonna be okay. Fingers crossed. All right, so it's the next day at Hybrid Racing. This is what we have so far. So in order to get to the oil pan, okay, you have all your bolts under there. And as you can see, I don't know if I could get it on camera without dropping the phone. In here is your oil sensor. and it actually goes right up in there. So what you want to do, if you're going to tackle this job, is you got to disconnect it from there. Now here's the other thing. Okay, everyone says you could, well, not everyone, some people say there's different ways. In order to get the oil pan off, you have to drop the headers or just remove the mid clamp bolt. So this is what it looks like. So on the 04-6 Yamaha, you have these 4 bolts over here, goes on the other side here underneath, and you could try to disconnect those and then try to wiggle this, but you still have to do, you would still have to go and get to the mid pipe bolt, so you could kind of like loosen it and then kind of take it off. However, these bolts are extremely fragile, and I don't recommend that you do that. As a matter of fact, we just like everyone else does, just kind of like take off the mid panel, remove your air induct, get to your bolt, which is here and on the other side for the radiator, and you remove that one, and then this just kind of moves forward and drops down. You could drop down once you undo your header bolts, drop down the header, and normally I would have did it, I would just get in there. You can see the clamp for the mid pipe. However, because the swing arm is boxed in on both sides, I can't get to it. So instead, just loosened it from here, loosened one of the other hangers right there, and then just it was able to move the header down enough to get to all the bolts, and hopefully that should give it enough clearance to remove the oil pan and then see what clean out the oil pan, clean out the sump, and diagnose, make sure there's nothing else going on, have the parts on order, and then just kind of put everything back together. So that's where we're at right now. Okay guys, all the bolts are off. More oil ended up coming out. So it's gonna be a moment of truth. Now I'm gonna need hybrid racing set of hands on this to get this off. Okay, do we have enough room? Come on. Okay. Okay, well, you know what? Not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Compared to others I've seen, this is not bad at all. Some other fucking debris. Look at that. Oh, is this it? No, just other debris from it. So I'm sure we're gonna find some stuff in maybe on the screen of the oil sump or oil pickup. So we got everything out. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this and give it a nice good wash. Get all the gunk out. There wasn't that much, thank God. I was expecting to see much worse. What was there, it's not good. It's not supposed to be there to begin with, but it wasn't all that bad. Now here's the other thing. Inside here, okay, I'll just remove this for a second. There is, actually I guess it's on the other piece, where there are shock absorbers. They basically look like mini cush drives, and over time, obviously they're brittle, like a rear drive cush drive for your wheel. They come in pairs, they're attached together. And what I've read, and it happens to everyone, or almost everyone, when you pull the entire assembly out with the stator and with the generator, what ends up happening is, because it's so brittle, the one of the bottom pieces always seems to break in it, and I've read that on a few different people that's happening, and then it lands in here, but it actually drops. Thank God it's just a straight drop down to the pan. Actually, it won't land. It depends if it goes in the pan or it goes on the oil filter itself, because the oil filter has like a long lip. As soon as I remove the oil filter, this popped out, and that was one of my concerns, saying like where did this end up. So I'm happy we found that. So next step, like I said, we're gonna clean everything. I'm gonna get the parts on order. While you're in there, decide if there's anything else. Inspect everything, double, triple. If you need a new oil pump, any of that stuff, now's the time to do it. This is not a job you want to have to do twice, and that's where we're at so far. And probably won't get the parts for a couple of days. To order these from Yamaha, it's going to take 2 to 4 days to get in. Stator, gasket, and generator is going to take, again, another 2 to 4 days. But I want to try to get this up and running, if I'm lucky, by the weekend for the guy, or next week. But I want him to have a good, fun, clean running bike is the goal here. So anything I need to do to make that happen, I'm going to do. I feel entirely horrible that it happened, but it's just one of those things. It's happened when it happened, and I wish it would have happened when I had it, so it just would have been dealt with so the guy could go and ride the bike. So that's where we're at right now. Take care of this. We'll be back. The things that you want to do, some people do it, some people don't. This is the reason why you want to do this is remove your pickup, your pickup feed. In there, you can see there's already just a little bit of debris, and there's your screen. And you might say, oh, that's acceptable. It might, it doesn't look like much. But if you go on an angle here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it really good, it actually, the screen goes all the way under here as well. So the gunk ends up going in and getting jammed and stuck. So that's what you don't want. So if you have this happen to you, and again, it's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when, do it properly. You're already in there. It's only 3 bolts, 4 mil Allen key bolts. Remove it, and then let's see if we could see some of the debris that's going to come out of here. But you can actually hear a little bit of it. Oh, it's one of the inserts. So let's take another look, and you can see there's already more debris there. So that's what's actually happening here. So actually, just remove the insert for now. If we could get it in there, squirt a little more. So guys, this is something you don't want to cheap out on. You're already more than halfway there. I know you guys can't see it on camera, but more gunk has already come out. It's in the oil pan. So we'll give it a few more squirts, clean it up, put it back on, and then finish up the procedure until we wait for the rest of the parts to come in. Okay, so the parts have come in. The gasket's actually, I put the oil pan on with the gasket, but it's loose right now. Here is the shock absorbers for the flywheel. Here's my new stator and flywheel and gasket all the way at the bottom from RM Stator. Only 2 companies you really want to deal with. It's best not to cheap out on this stuff. Is RM Stator, which is in Quebec, Canada, and Rick's, which is out in the US. So now this is still plugged in. So we follow it up. Here's the wire. Leads right down in there. So there's a part of the harness that goes into the electrical system here. So I removed the top one, but I'm still having trouble getting to the bottom one. So it's just as easy for me to remove this bolt. I'll get the hybrid over there to give me a hand, lift up the tank, unplug it, and then continue on. So instead of messing around with it too much, like I said, we removed the tank, and then we removed the rectifier, because this was like the stator was really hard to get off there. Maybe some other, if you tried on yours, maybe you're gonna have better success, better luck. But for us, didn't want to mess around with it anymore. Unhooked it, the rectifier from the bracket. So one bolt, another bolt right there. Not the worst to get to. It wasn't that fun either. As soon as we removed it, we were able to loosen the harness and get it off. So now we just got to fish it through, get this off, and then put in the replacement parts. So as you can see, in order to get the bolts off, the Torx bolts off, we had to put the stator in the vise, and since this stator is already junk, it doesn't matter, clamp it down. We were able to get the Torx off. So what I'm going to do next is, you can see the old Loctite that was on there. I'm going to clean up these bolts and then put some red Loctite on. If you got to this part, don't skimp out. Clean the bolts properly, reapply the thread lock, and then you can put it all back together. Don't just stick them in like this. So now, to get the stator completely off, you got to undo those 3 bolts up top. We already got those 3 bolts that are off, and then it should just come out, and then we can put in the new unit. So here's the new stator. Now, as you can see, this rubber piece here is going to slot into there. But before we go and do that, a couple things. Same as the outer Torx, these are the ones that go inside, and go 1, 2, 3. And again, clean the ends up, put in new Loctite. Don't bother to stick them in like that, and torque them down properly. So I haven't looked at the torque spec on those yet, or the outside Torx, but make sure everything that's internal is always torqued down. Don't second guess it, hand tight this, that, and the other. They're actually torqued down. I don't know if it's fairly tight or just because of the Loctite, but they were pretty snug. So we're going to double check the torque spec on that. So then what you have here is you have this piece here. Same thing. This is going to go right here to lock the harness in place. Here's the bolt. Then you have the other 2 dowels that go here and here. Or sorry, here and here. Sorry, here and here. Jesus. So then once this is all put together, then we're gonna focus on the gears. Put the gears in, put the flywheel, get the stator and the cover on, snug it down, and then we'll get to the oil pan. But again, we're just at this step right now. I'll post up the torque spec. I'll talk about the torque spec once I find it. Get that all buttoned up. Okay, so back together. And then we got to end up cleaning, taking off the old gaskets still around. We got to do that. But real quick, these are 10 pounds for torque, 7.2, 7.2. So now we're getting ready to put this back together. Here is the new flywheel. Here are the rubber grommets that if you have to replace, once you replace the stator, these, you're gonna have to get a new set of these from Yamaha. They just crumble away. Now, unlike your rear cush drive, because they look similar, it doesn't go on top like this. It actually fits in this way. Okay, so you see how you have your open slots that goes onto here. There's one. So this in first. Now keep in mind, if you look at a diagram, this comes out in one piece. Whenever you look at a diagram, this is actually, this part's separated. You also have another sleeve in here that'll come out, but it's all one piece when it comes out. Like there's, see, if you see the sleeve right there, so that's a sleeve. Okay, now then you're gonna put on your washer, and then finally you have this collar piece, and it's beveled. See there, it's beveled. This is the flat side. Beveled goes inwards, so that's the last part that's going to go in. And in there, it's going to be hard to see. There's also an O-ring. So again, when you look at a microfiche, all these pieces here are separated. And then I was confused because I'm like, well, where's this O-ring? And when I look carefully inside, the O-ring's already in there, because it looks like the O-ring's on the outside, but that's not true. The O-ring's part is in there already. So this, the absorbers in the gear on here, all one piece with the collar, washer, final collar goes on top, and then you got to slide it in right inside the hole where that's part of the bearing. It goes in. Got my new gasket, and then we should be able to button it up. All right, here we go. Assembled like in the order that I mentioned. Now back here, if you see, there's that gear, that small gear. Sorry, my camera's not really all that great. The small gear that's there touches the gear that's behind this. Okay, and then in there, again, it's gonna be hard to see. Let me see if I can flashlight, try to get a little something better view. See the teeth there underneath? It's because this is gear driven. There, you can kind of see it's touching the internal gear of the motor. Top gear, the little gear is attached there as well, and it just kind of sits there. You don't have to force it in. Just if you could stick your hand in there and you feel that the gear is in place there, and you can see that it's in place there, that's it. It's just sitting there. Okay, it's just the shaft is attached to the bearing back behind there. And what keeps it in its place is once this gets on and you bolt it down, now it's solid. It's not going to go anywhere. Here's some silicone. You're going to put some silicone in here. You put this down. You don't need any silicone here. You have your gasket. Find where I put my gasket. Anyhow, when you buy, usually if you buy it together, like the flywheel, the stator, usually comes with the gasket already. So the RM stator does come with another gasket, and it doesn't require any gasket sealant. You just kind of put it on, and then you are good to go. Here's my gasket right here. So we're gonna put this on. We're gonna button it up. I'll have to double check the torque spec on this. I don't recall if it's calling for also 8.7 or 16 pounds. I'll verify that in a moment, just to put it just before I put it on. But once we get this part done, then I'll have to button up the bottom oil pan. I only got a couple of bolts holding it, so we have to clean everything out. And then we're going to be good to put in the oil, start it up, and test everything. Okay, so we're able to get the stator flywheel in. When you put the flywheel in, you have to shake the rear wheel a little bit. You try to get it in because it's hard, because you have to get the starter gear and the internal motor gear to line up. And then it is a pain in the ass to slip on the cover with the stator, because the flywheel, because it's magnetized, wants to pop out. So you might have to have like a screwdriver to try to hold the flywheel in while you push it in. So anyone who says this was the easy job, you guys don't even get me started. There's been a lot of swearing, cursing going off. Dougie Fresh had a good laugh.
Of course.
And then now we're just tightening the bolts. So the smaller bolts, I think they're 7 or 8 mil, are 8.7 pounds, and these bigger ones are the 3 bigger ones, 1, 2, 3, are 16 pounds. We're going to tighten that up. and we'll get to the belly pan. Okay, so we buttoned everything back up last night. Stayed late working on it. Double checked. We're just gonna keep an eye that make sure that the gaskets are not gonna be leaking. Everything's been torqued down properly. We're gonna start it up. It's gonna be his first startup. We're gonna run it, change the oil, make sure, just double check, even though maybe it's not required. Screw it, we're not taking any chances, especially that this is gonna go to a guy who wants to enjoy it, so I don't want him to have any problems. I'm gonna run it, change the oil, put more fresh oil in, and because we already have new oil, but doing it again just to make sure, catch any remaining debris. And so far we're gonna be looking good. So hybrid, want to do the honors. Oh, we got to actually, we need to check the charging as well.
Sure. Here we go.
So the oil sensor light's on. I think the sensor probably just went bad. See some remaining oil from the header burning off. We're gonna check the charging now. Whoever said this job was easy lied. It's only easy if you don't have to drop the pan. If you have to drop the pan, forget it. So now we're going to make sure that the stator is working properly. Good stuff. All right, that's it. We're done.